basically zero lift to get off the ground. It's a Shopify app. You plug in your Klaviyo, you pull over existing segmentation, you replicate your digital strategies, designed for you, executed for you, and fully trackable. It feels to the user very much like a digital channel, but obviously we're taking advantage of the inherent benefits of physical outside of the busy email inbox.
Welcome to today's episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast, where we dive into the dynamic world of e-commerce and uncover the tools and tactics that empower today's emerging entrepreneurs. Our podcast is part of our community with the same name. The community is geared to providing emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs with courses, content, and coaching to help you all launch and grow successful businesses. Check us out at ecomrevolution.co. Let's get things started. Welcome to another episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. I'm Ramin, your host and co-founder of the E-Commerce Revolution. Today, we have a fascinating topic, one that I really wanted to talk about for quite a long time: direct mail. Yes, the old new thing, as many call it in the business, in the world of modern day e-commerce and how it's getting a major technology-driven renaissance. So our guests are Drew Hart and Ben Walter from Postpilot. This is a name you've probably heard out there, a company that's built a platform to make direct mail as automated and trackable as email marketing. Together, they help e-commerce brands integrate postcards and catalogs seamlessly into acquisition, retention, and reactivation flows. Postpilot has experienced tremendous growth in recent years. This year, 2025, it is ranked number 80 on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in the United States. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Drew and Ben to the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Ramin. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Let's just cut it now. I think you pitched everybody on Postpilot. We can just hop off. We're good to go about our day.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you guys, I appreciate you making the time. I mean, we've been talking, for quite a long time. I mean, I think I remember you guys in the early days of Postpilot coming out. And I'm like, wait, direct mail? And it really all started to make sense. As I mentioned earlier, every time I go to my mailbox, not my email box, I see that it gets smaller and smaller, mostly just that some of that mail that, they have to give you, the post office. But when you see postcards that come out that look like this and beautiful pieces like this, I mean, you're going to pay attention. So let's jump in before we get into the business and the brand, everything like that. You guys just take a moment and tell us about, what you do at Postpilot and, what you're seeing and kind of what your stories are.
100%. I can kick us off.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm Ben. I'm the head of partnerships here at Postpilot. So I've been with the team now for 3 years, since 2022, and it's been an exciting ride. So I joined when the team was less than 20 employees. We were early days. When I was hopping on calls at that point with partners and brands, there was a lot of resistance, I would say, to direct mail still. It was like, hey, direct mail, this really works. And over the last 3 years, I've seen such a massive shift in just the feedback and the excitement around the channel and the interest in the channel, generally speaking. Now, when we hop on a call, usually it's the brand or the partner reaching out to us saying, we need to do this today. So how can we make this happen? And how can we make it happen as quick as possible? So it's been really fun, obviously, to see the team grow and the product grow and the channel really grow, especially in the popularity and how many great brands and cutting edge brands are leveraging the channel for their own growth. So that's what I do. I run the partner program, integrations, agencies, the works, also oversee events. So pretty busy. And then Drew is on my team.
Yeah, so I say primarily work with our agency partners. So a big part of my role is just helping enabling our partners, getting them the information they need. I've been at Postpilot for about 2 years now, but I actually started on the account management side. So I was working directly with brands, helping them install and kind of get direct mail off the ground. So it's been really interesting to see kind of the wins that they've received and now educating our partners on that. But previous to Postpilot, I was in the email space, SMS, even some Facebook Messenger retargeting. So it's kind of fun to see how they all play together and helping our agency partners know the best mix for their clients and brands.
I love it. Well, it's awesome again, glad to have you guys here. Now let's talk about maybe the aha moment that the founders, and you can let everybody know who the founders of Postpilot are. And what was that moment that they said, oh, you know what, let's just turn direct mail into that automated world, just like email marketing? There must be a great story on that.
There is a great story. So our founders, Drew Sanaki, Michael Epstein, well-known names in the space. These are both guys who have been brand operators for a very long time, maybe longer than I've been alive, some might say.
I mean, these are guys who were showing up on podcasts back in like 2005, I remember. I remember hearing Drew talk about building businesses back then. I'm like, wow, this guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's been around the block for sure. He ran Nerd Marketing and the Drew's Letter. So don't tell him that I said the age comment. He's not like it. But no, so these guys are vets, right? They've been around the block for sure. And some of the brands that they've run include like Karmaloop, AutoAnything, kind of acting CEOs, CMOs. I would say that the premise for Postpilot definitely sparked from a need that they had at these brands. These were sort of sinking ship brands. Top line revenue, fantastic, but losing like 10 million quarterly or something like that. Sinking ships, leaky buckets. They were coming in to turn those boats around and really fix that problem. And one of the tried and true playbooks that they had was to leverage direct mail. Come in, source out those like deep customer lists that these massive brands had, tap into that list, especially like your unengaged, your suppressed buyers, people who had not been engaging with your digital channels like email and SMS, very busy channels, and reactivate them and get them buying again via direct mail. And this was something that worked really well for them at those brands. I mean, the channel itself, it's a 100-year-old tried and true performance marketing channel, right?
Yeah.
But in the last 20 years, all these brands, these digital first, digital native brands, they really grew off of like meta ads and email marketing, SMS marketing. They'd never really touched this channel. And for good reason, right? It kind of seems like a foreign channel and very complicated to get started. People don't really know where to start. You got to source paper, you got to source a printer. How do you design creative that is, right for this channel versus email and SMS and other digital channels? So they wanted to find a way to make this as accessible as email, as SMS, paid ads, because they had seen the success themselves firsthand in these brands like Karmaloop, like AutoAnything, and really turning around these sinking ships by leveraging strategies like this. And so that's when they started building Postpilot. So they actually sought out the tech. They actually acquired Postpilot from the original engineer in 2018. And that's when they started to build this for modern Shopify brands, first and foremost. That's their focus. That's their target. And really what we have today is a fully integrated solution that makes this channel basically zero lift to get off the ground. It's a Shopify app. You plug in your Klaviyo, you pull over existing segmentation, you replicate your visual strategies, designed for you, executed for you, and fully trackable. It feels to the user very much like a digital channel, but obviously we're taking advantage of the inherent like benefits of physical outside of the busy email inbox.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, when you look at it, paper is complicated, just in theory, the fact that they were able to look at that and say, no, hold on a second, it doesn't have to be, and we can automate it and we can, scale it basically. That is, I marvel at that because, just kind of, they're able to see past what is technically in front of them as something that potentially could be complicated to do.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, like when you think about why is this channel so relevant today? I mean, you started off today's conversation by saying the mailbox is getting less busy.
Yeah.
Right? There's less and less in there. I just moved to a new place. I have no mail. Nobody knows where I live.
No, wait. You better hope it stays like that. Minus, of course, some cool things coming in the mail like
right.
Right.
And by the way, with our database, 450 million consumer profiles, we can find you wherever you are.
I know. We'll get into that. You guys are tracking machines here. You're tracking.
Talk a little bit to that, but when you think about some of the shifts, especially in digital in recent years, with iOS updates, ability to target. Again, I mean, think about the opposite, right? Think about your email inbox or your SMS inbox. Think about how busy that is. Like, I don't really read any promotional mail in there, and I'll get hit probably like 4, 5, 6 times a day from the same brand.
Right.
This is much different. This is a tailored one-to-one touch, it's got your name on there. It's a brand you know and love for the most part, or a brand that you're seeking out because, right, something in a category that you know and love. And so it really has an impact. I didn't touch on if you don't mind me backtracking really quick.
Please, go for it.
Tell a story about how I kind of came across this channel myself. So about 7 years ago, I worked brand side, a brand called Indochino, massive made-to-measure suiting retailer, $100 million plus brand. And I was running affiliate marketing, a little bit of PR marketing for them. I was listening to a podcast at that time. I remember sitting at my desk in the HQ in Vancouver, Canada. I was listening to this podcast. I can't remember who it was, maybe a Scott Galloway type individual. And they were telling a story about this local restaurant. They moved to a small town. There was a local restaurant there. It was their favorite restaurant. Great spot, corner block. But it was always empty. Fantastic food, fantastic service, but nobody there, right? Nobody knew about it. They'd recently opened, pretty common story, I would say, for a small town restaurant.
Yeah.
Now this, big hotshot marketer guy, he's like, look, let me help you run your marketing. I can have this place filled within a week, but I need you to promise me one thing. You're going to save that corner table for me every Friday night because I want to be there and this place is booming and nobody can get in. So the restaurant owner says, yes, 100%. Do it for me. That table's yours. Let's see what you can do.
Wow.
And in this podcast, he said the one channel that he used to fill this restaurant was direct mail.
Wow.
So what he did was he ran a local targeted campaign. It was like hey, this is our grand opening, come in. It was a handwritten letter, which we do here at Postpilot.
Yes.
Real handwritten note from the founders. And it said, hey, we'd love for you to come out, try our restaurant. We just opened. We're new in town. We're having a grand opening. We're going to have, free food. Come enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Within a week, the restaurant was full. It was never empty again. He had that table and he was able to admire his work. And so this stuck with me. This really stuck with me. And so it was 3 or 4 years after that when I was, checking out what's out there. I wanted to get kind of like, platform side, vendor side, still in this like D2C ecosystem. And I found Postpilot. And it was at that time I was like, 100%, I got to work with these guys. Michael and Drew know what's up. And this channel is legit. So I think that's pretty impactful when you think about what this channel can do. And that's a little bit about why I chose to get into it myself.
And that's interesting because, yes, as we talked about before we started recording, local direct mail is really, is known as that local thing. You guys have, put it on a national scale, put it, and automate it. So I love it. Well, Drew, it's time for you to tell us and walk us through like what happens when I sign up, just for those who haven't heard how it all works. I want the nitty gritty, the printing. Somebody abandons cart. Obviously they send out an abandoned cart email through Klaviyo, but they can also send out a postcard. Just give me the details on how it all works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to say a lot of things that Ben probably has already mentioned. But again, the focus point here was to make it as seamless as possible. So when someone does get signed up, basically integrating their Shopify store, their Klaviyo account, maybe another email provider that we have an integration with, is a few clicks.
Okay.
Once that's done, now we can pretty much automatically start sending postcards. On our end and in the back end, we have our own printing and shipping facilities, meaning that we can print, ship, and send out that card within 24 hours. And then using the USPS, we can have it delivered within 7 days.
Are the printing facilities all around the country and you've partnered up with them? Is that how it works?
They're in-house. So we have all in South Carolina. Yep, everything's in-house. So one in South Carolina, one in Arizona, which helps us, one, obviously, make sure the quality is what it needs to be, but then also keep our costs low for our customers. So
sure.
Again, as an account manager on the team, we're actually very hands-on with our clients. So generally speaking, the AM team will handle pretty much everything for the brands. That goes for facilitating the designs with, as Ben mentioned, our in-house design team. Basically, all the client needs to do is send us high-resolution images and logos to the actual strategy components. So again, as a member of the AM team for a year and a half, I can use my previous experience to say, hey, for you as an apparel brand with an average order value of 100, targeting women in their 40s, and here's what worked for similar brands, and here's what I'd recommend starting with. So then after that, of course, everything's handled through the app to get it actually sent out, and then we'll review after about 30 days the results with our clients. But again, as far as the work from our brands, it's primarily just those 2 clicks in the beginning, and then obviously just adding a card to make sure everything moves smoothly there. But outside of that, our team's very hands-on, and the tech works to make sure those cards are delivered as quickly as possible.
Wow, 24 hours. So literally, if I abandoned my cart within 24 hours, it's going out the door. I mean, it's going to take a little longer to get to me, depending on the mail, or are we talking about literally within a couple of days, I've got something in my mailbox? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if so, our facilities are in South Carolina and Phoenix, Arizona. So if you're pretty local to those facilities, you can expect within 3 days to have the card. Of course, for some of the customers, they're a little bit farther, but
Sure.
3 to 7 days is average delivery.
It's amazing. I mean, it's I love it because if I just literally abandon cart and next thing I know, I go to pick up my mail and I see the brand in there. I mean, I'm going to stop in my tracks, honestly. I will stop in my tracks. One out of, shock, wait, hold on a second. Wasn't I just on that website? Didn't I just do so? How is this in here? So I think that probably gets people's attention immediately, right?
For sure. And also we find about 60% of those that receive the cards actually receive it as a gift as opposed to some sort of marketing material. So the opt-out rates, I mean, in my experience, was between like 1 in 5 to 10,000 cards you would send. We'd actually have someone reach out saying, hey, I don't want to receive this anymore. But yeah, it's obviously the actual reception of the card is pretty positive from the customer, but also it's pretty rare they even reach out to say, hey, I actually didn't want this. You hear the email or other channels where it's easy as clicking a button.
Okay. And not that I want to focus on this, but I do remember back in the day, my parents going through their direct mail, 80s maybe, looking and say, okay, I'm going to call this company and get off this list. I don't want this. I don't want that. Obviously, we know in the world of email marketing, you can simply click unsubscribe. What is the process here? Just so people, feel comfortable, brands will feel comfortable, their customers won't be upset. Do they simply just call a number? Do they go online and click a button? What do they do?
They just need to reach out to the brands. And then we have in our app making sure that anyone who has raised their hand to say they don't want to receive this type of marketing, they're opted out, they're removed from any type of promotion. So we're ready to handle that on the back end.
Got it. Okay. What, what trigger is, one of the ones that leads to the highest number of direct mail pieces going out? What event on a Shopify site makes that happen?
On the actual site or just?
Yeah, like, is abandoned cart one of the top ones? Is it, somebody browse abandonment triggering direct mail pieces? Are there any stats out there on that?
As far as the most cards that are actually triggered, and honestly the highest return on investment for our brands as well, it's typically based on recency and frequency of purchase.
Okay.
So the idea that, okay, you purchased a car or purchased something from the brand 90 days ago, you haven't come back yet, maybe you've unsubscribed or never subscribed to email.
Yeah.
Now we can go ahead and send you a card. But beyond the retention strategies, I would say abandoned cart's a big one. Also like a welcome series type of flow where if someone subscribes to email, they haven't made their first purchase or converted within 14 days. We might automatically trigger a card that way also. But I asked you about the site side because we do have the ability also to trigger cards based on site activity. So if someone goes to a specific page, they've been on for a certain amount of time, we can also trigger a card that way too. So there's definitely a lot of different ways to implement direct mail beyond just your typical, batch sending to customer groups.
Yeah, I love that. So, I'll just take the welcome flow. So now the email welcome flow, which again, generally has very good open rates or, strong open rates. Now all of a sudden I'm getting a card too. That's powerful. With the brand story on it. I like the idea of, the win back is really what you were saying initially is if I haven't made a purchase, I made a purchase, but I have not made a purchase. And now also I'm not on the, potentially you said I'm not on the email list or I've unsubscribed. Can I still get a card if I've unsubscribed from email? Since you guys do integrate with Klaviyo, are they kind of two separate actions that are happening?
Yeah, we don't need an opt-in to send them direct mail campaign. I think that's the biggest thing that we deliver value-wise to brands is you're expanding your marketable audience to your customer base, right? Of course, typically like maybe 20% of your customer base might be subscribed to email. And if they're active, then great. Keep sending them emails. That's where they want to be heard from. But if that's not converting them, if they're not opening those emails, that's where we can use direct mail more strategically to get in front of them.
So you're saying basically that there is no the rules are very different in the world of direct mail. There isn't this opt-in thing because people I can go buy a list locally. If I had a local business, I can go buy a list and send direct mail pieces through the post office, right?
Exactly.
So there's no interesting, very very interesting.
No risk to deliverability, right? Like that's one thing, especially a lot of these like anonymous retargeting tools, which are great, for email SMS. There is potentially risk of, a knock on your deliverability. With this, you avoid that. And yeah, it's completely legal to send a postcard to anybody in the United States. I think it's important to touch on like the consumer perception in this conversation as well. Drew touched on it earlier. Like it is really perceived as this sort of surprise and delight experience rather than nuisance. And we're seeing that even, actually particularly in younger generations. So I think that's another common mistake. It's like direct mail is really good for older generations, which is not false, but we're actually seeing that like millennial women, for example, are actually our highest performing cohort as far as demographics are concerned. So it's not just older demographics they're engaging with this channel. It's really everybody, and particularly younger, like millennial, Gen Z. They're perceiving this truly as like more of a surprise and delight and a real connection with the brand. Whereas a lot of the digital overload that they see, that they sort of see as a nuisance and not exactly building brand in the way of this channel.
And how many, are there numbers out there in terms of brands that use it just for brand building? Like I keep holding this one up. I mean, this is a full-on brand building versus putting a discount code or, trying to get people to come back. Is it, any numbers out there to support one's better than the other, or are they all about the same? And have different purposes?
Yeah, most of our brands are going to be using this like truly as like a conversion piece. So they will have some sort of an offer or a discount. Yeah, they're going to be trying to. But we do see a lot of like apparel brands like doing like maybe, monthly or seasonal sort of like catalog type pieces, trifolds, kind of displaying, new runs, new product. And that's maybe not as like conversion focused, more so a brand building piece. But for the most part, especially a lot of the automations that are turned on, like the always on type campaigns are going to be focused on how do we get people back on site buying.
Right. Okay. Talk to me about, digital ads in terms of, if I'm a e-commerce brand, I'm most likely doing, some form of digital advertising in addition to email marketing, and it's noisy out there, right? Is there any connection, or is there any, you can help fortify and maybe cut through the clutter using direct mail in conjunction with paid ads?
Yeah, 100%. I think a really good example of this would be, let's say, like CTV ads. So if you kind of make it a little bit here, but so what we've seen actually as a really powerful use case is when you're doing like a very localized, targeted campaign, and this could be a meta campaign, it could be a CTV campaign where you're trying to drive in a specific market, maybe to a retail location, for example. We're seeing a lot of brands tag on with direct mail to touch sort of shortly thereafter they see the initial digital imprint, driving that same message, driving them to maybe an in-store experience, something of this nature. So if we're talking about like localized campaigns where you have very specific messaging going out on digital, we can definitely supplement that and improve it, via physical. The other way that I typically talk about this, like in conjunction with digital ads, is if you're investing heavily on Meta or whatever, and you're driving a ton of quality site traffic from this, how do we capture and activate more of those folks? That's where we tap into like our site reactivation, site retargeting products. You've got massive volume coming on site, but obviously not everyone is buying, and you're getting a lot of just defectors right off the gate. Like that's where we can put that pixel retargeting product in to be like, hey, saw you exited, come back, join our email list, whatever, buy again for the first time. So those are kind of the two main places that we would see supporting digital campaigns with this physical channel.
Okay. Well, okay. Maybe both of you can tag team on this one. Let's talk about the, acquisition AI, mail match, all of these ways that you guys are able to find people. That's why I want to know how you find people and how you show up, because you mentioned, the delight. There actually is a delight. And I'll attest to that. I get delighted when I see these show up in my mailbox. So brands, may not have, they want to get to people they don't even know yet, right? How is acquisition AI? How does mail match? Site match too, I believe, is on there as well. How do these all work to get my message into somebody's mailbox?
Yeah, I can kick off on this one. So, Postpilot's been around a minute, and we're leveraged by a lot of awesome brands. And so we have over 10,000 brands that are connected to our Shopify app. And we also have data partners. So when we talk about how we're sourcing the data specifically, we have our own database. So I mentioned earlier, over 450 million consumer profiles. Obviously, that's larger than the U.S. population. So what is that? That accounts for duplicate profiles. So let's say, Drew moves to a new city. Maybe he gets married and he chooses to change his last name for whatever reason, and he gets a credit card or something like that.
Very progressive. I like it. Okay.
Exactly. So
Is that right?
we can actually, on our back end, that's how granular we can get. We can identity graph and figure out this is the same person living in different cities under different names with different cards. So it's very, very granular. And basically from there's a few ways we can leverage that data. So for example, with our site retargeting, Pixel on Site, we're going to base it off of your IP address. We're going to be able to source out who you are, where you're living. Can we send you a card? We can also do lookalikes. So if we ingest a brand's, historical customer data, we can run that. We use our acquisition AI tool, which is, an AI basically parsing of the data, run it against our own database, build that with lookalike model, pull that list, and then send you a card effectively targeting for that brand. And so where we see brands really interested in this, typically they're sort of like at scale on digital already, right? They've kind of like hit that inflection point. Where they're maybe not seeing the same returns or the same velocity in their returns, on Meta or something of that nature. They're looking for that diversification opportunity, and so they'll carve out some of their acquisition budget to start to test on direct mail, and this can be pretty impactful for them. And I think another one, speaking of the quality of the channel, like if we think about maybe like the cost of a click, for example. And then we think about the cost of a piece of direct mail and then the longevity of that. So, how long is a session coming off of a click? Probably at max, like it's going to be less than maybe 2 minutes, right? We're speaking in a matter of seconds or minutes, right?
Right.
How long is the impression of a piece of physical mail? I mean, a lot of the pieces of mail that I get from brands that I like sit on my desk probably for a couple of days.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And so if you think about the cost, because we get, jammed on this occasionally from a brand, especially in the context of acquisition, the cost of a click to the quality of engagement after that click versus the cost to send a piece of direct mail and then the quality of that engagement after the fact. There's quite a stark difference, right? We're talking days, if not weeks, versus seconds, if not minutes.
Right.
And so that's one thing that I love to highlight when we're talking about this acquisition piece, because some people may, bat an eye at first and be like, this seems a little bit expensive. But again, it's well worth it when you think about how this is really displaying your brand. And again, how granular we can get on the targeting. It is parallel to any of these digital channels.
I feel like, I for some reason, I always use this example when I talk about, a e-commerce brand, a garden, somebody who, a company that's selling gardening equipment. They're obviously going to do a lot of content on their site about, how to garden, the seasonality, what you should know, this and that. But I feel like, you send out a, maybe a trifold, direct mail piece that has very key, like it's not promotion based, it's content based in their tips and tricks and all that. Somebody, I would assume, keep that even longer. Maybe that gets pinned up to the, or, a magnet on the refrigerator. It's this time of year, I got to do winter rye, and this is how I do it in my area or something like that. Do you see brands using stories? We talked about discounts and all that, but is that an effective strategy?
Yeah, I would say so. And also, I think personalized messages too, right? Like we get personalized and add like a first name, things of that nature. So, of course, to your point, you can have like almost like an experience piece go out, or even to like a VIP buyer, as Ben mentioned, having like a handwritten note from the founder saying, hey, you've been a great customer this year. Thank you so much. Let us know if you need anything. Here's an email address. Or even I had one brand I worked with who just had it printed on the back of the card, but it was a very specific message to a specific group. So yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, you can have it be maybe something to be pinned up or even just something to create a great experience for the customer as well.
Yeah, Ben, to your point, I mean, that's a phenomenal, the keeping it on your desk or in the house, versus the click. I think that's really a powerful statement in terms of how this works and how it works really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I encourage brands to get creative with this. Like, you're in the home physically.
Yeah.
With these potential buyers. What can you do? Like we've seen shoe brands, for example. They've done like a cutout of a shoe so you can like measure your child's foot.
Wow.
That's just better. That's pretty cool. I just met with a puzzle brand at a conference last week, and I was like, what if you did like a series, right, throughout the year, and you sent your best buyers a postcard every month, and you gave them like a couple cutout pieces, so you could cut the card up, and at the end of the year, you have a puzzle that you put together from all of these different postcards. So I'm like, look, like you can, like, we see a lot of brands just doing the standard conversion pieces with, you know, your win back offer, percentage off, dollars off, and like a very like conversion forward design.
Yeah.
But like you can get so creative with this, and that's going a little bit outside of the box, but
Sure. No,
I like
it.
Fun.
Yeah, the example, I mean, that's somebody will, you know, especially if they have multiple kids, they'll keep that around.
Sure.
Measure the kids' feet. Let me just go back to the database, 450 million, I believe you said. We'll call that external data that you have inside of the system, right? Is that fair to call that external? I mean, what percentage, or is there a number out there of, you know, brands using that first party data they already have, or that you guys, you know, are helping them facilitate versus external? Or is it a even split in terms of how they use that data?
No. So what I'll say right now is, like, let's say a lot of brands get started with their first party data. They're going to be tapping into their like existing lists and seeing how we can debate on that. It's really the brands that are at scale, you know, the larger brands. They have a, you know, diversified mix already. They're already running sort of like automated retention, automated retargeting, these sorts of things. That's where we really start to see the interest and the engagement on those acquisition tools. And that's not to say that we don't have like early stage brands coming and asking for it, but we also recommend, like, you know, typically to have a little bit of traction first on your digital acquisition efforts before you tap in here. So I would say, yeah, like, I mean, 100% of the brands that come on are going to be leveraging our, you know, retention automation. So you're leveraging first party data. I would say it's probably, you know, sub 50% right now that are using acquisition products. Not to say there's not the interest, but again, when you're working with our accounts team and our strategy team, we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success and setting you up for scalability. And so building the program in the right way for the profile of your exact brand, that's how we really make sure brands win.
Yeah, you guys sit in that world of both acquisition and retention, really, at the end of the day. I mean, you can use that for that database that you already have out there, and we can reach people we've never, you know, who don't even know who we are as a brand, versus also bringing that first party data and retaining them and continuing to get them to repeat. So tell me, just in terms of, let's just talk about, you know, there's obviously the world of AI. I mean, you guys, you know, have AI tools in there, acquisition AI, but I want to talk more about the, you know, this fear. It's moving so quickly. You know, at the time of this recording, you know, OpenAI checkout just came out, and Shopify's cutting a deal with OpenAI, and ChatGPT you're going to be able to buy, and all these things. Do you see AI as a way to make direct mail stronger, rather than, you know, I mean, is there any fear of, you know, becoming obsolete? And you guys are like, you know, we're building tools. It's never going to be obsolete. It's going to continue to be. I mean, what's the thought process within the company and how AI helps direct mail get better and evolve?
Oh yeah, it's not a threat at all. It is only enhancing our capabilities, and it's something that we're really excited about. I would say if you sit down for a 15-minute conversation with our co-founder, Michael, like, you could just jam with him on AI capabilities. Probably turn into an hour-long conversation. So the way that we're using it, right? We had, you know, brands ask a lot. They immediately go like, "Oh, you're probably using it for creative, like AI-powered creative." And we have
like you're using Nana Banana to make these right.
That's not where we see like a super relevant application. Sure, that could be applicable for brands, but the way that we're really leveraging AI for our product development is in the ability to like parse large data sets and then turn those into actionable strategies and recommendations. Ooh. So we have a few products. Acquisition AI, we already talked about. We actually just launched our direct mail benchmark AI reporting. And so what this is going to do is it's going to look at your direct mail performance. It's going to benchmark you against other brands that look much like yours in your vertical, in your space. And then it's going to tell you kind of how you compare. But the powerful part is, and this is where the AI recommendations come into play, it's going to give you direct, actionable strategies that you can deploy today to improve your overall program health. So I was just running through an account with a partner of ours last week, and I'm looking through the recommendations, and it is quite literally giving you exact campaigns that you've previously launched and maybe you've turned off, and it says, hey, we noticed this campaign was turned off. It did really well. If you turn it back on, we believe you're going to see this lift in your program performance. And so that's where we see real power in AI. It's like being able to look at large data sets, parsing that down, and giving you bite-sized, actionable strategies that you can actually deploy to make a real impact. And so that's where we're investing most of our time, most of our resources right now, is how do we continue to flesh out those products to really make this the most powerful direct mail tool, which it already is for Shopify brands today.
I love it. We can also have reporting too. I mean, we have built-in reports, and this is free to every account, just even getting started on like a free trial that we'll have in the beginning. We have a report that will break down, again, using this huge data set that we have in-house, matching it to the first-party data we have in Shopify, and actually showing you like who your customers are. Are they located in specific locations? Do they have a dog, a cat, or have they moved recently? And there'll be like literally, again, a free report just by installing our app. We'll show you a lot of really cool customer insights. So I think Ben hit the nail on the head. It's almost like design's the last thing we'll focus on. It's all about just making sure that we really get the targeting reporting down, as well as recommendations for our customers.
Yeah, that data you guys have is so valuable. And you mentioned that you're now doing, well, I guess what will turn into maybe an annual report. But you have all that, and we talked to early on. And can people easily access that, or do they have to? Is it put their email address in and using it as an acquisition tool?
Yeah, just go to our site or look up BFCM 2024 Direct Mail Report Postpilot. We can share a link after today's session as well. You can download it there. It's a 30-page document. It's insane actually what's in there. First and only of its kind. So we're pretty stoked on it, and yeah, I mean, it shows you, it's all incremental too. So it shows you, it's a ROAS.
30 pages. I'm going to have to read that after the holidays. That's a lot of pages.
Don't worry, our team has read it all, we know. So just come to us.
We can just ask you guys. I would say I'd probably put that report into ChatGPT and give me a summary.
There you go. Yeah.
Give me the summary of what I need to do here, or call you guys, and you guys can, tell me which way I want to go. Let's talk about a brand, say maybe a $1 million to $5 million annual revenue. When they sign up for the first time, they've never done this before. They've got Klaviyo running. They got all that. What's the first direct mail test you recommend to them? What do you say where do you start?
Yeah, we typically will start with the retention campaigns that we kind of discussed earlier. I think if you think about like, the channels and kind of going up or down funnel, typically like the low hanging fruit is going to be with existing customers that have lapsed. So I would say like the classic would be a one-time buyer flow where 90 to 120 days after they've made their first purchase and have not come back yet, we'll go ahead and trigger that card. But I think the other, even kind of maybe moving up funnel a little bit, I think the abandoned cart and welcome series we mentioned as well would be classic. Almost every Postpilot customer is using those. And of course, if we're seeing performance, that's where we can move into the lookalike audience campaigns, even the site retargeting, being those are typically a little bit more of a struggle to get like a great return out of the start, and it takes a little bit more work to do so.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess I think the stat's still 70% of carts are abandoned out there. I mean, I feel that and I show up and I go get my mail, and all of a sudden I've got something in there that says, "Hey, where'd you go? Come on back. We're missing you." Either I'm gonna freak out that somebody's watching me, or I'm gonna quickly say, "Aha, it's that brand."
I think we're starting to get used to it too. I feel like I'm getting an email from a brand I spend 10 seconds on pretty consistently now. So I feel like the consumer base is getting a little more comfortable with it, but. No, it's amazing what we can do now. Just automatically within 24 hours, he'll be triggered. So
amazing. All right. So, beyond direct mail, what other growth levers would you, just as e-commerce aficionados who love that world of e-commerce, what should brands be, using? Maybe what's underutilized this year, and maybe you see going into 2026. You guys have all that data, on the right of e-commerce.
We see a lot, obviously, and being on our partnerships team, we see so many fantastic tools that brands are leveraging to really win. One topic that we did touch on frequently throughout our conversation today is like the topic of discounting.
Yeah,
I think it's I think that I'm really liking what I'm seeing as far as brands exploring and really evaluating how they're discounting, because I mean, especially as we head into peak season here, BFCM, and we're acquiring a ton of new customers, and brands are pushing hard, right, to bring these customers in. We all know, like, we're going to be at a loss on that first purchase, and we're going to have to work and to reactivate these folks to get closer to profitability. I'm seeing some really cool tools out there right now and some really cool strategies. So like shared sweeps, for example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the shared sweeps guys, but they do sweepstakes giveaways. So it's no discounting at all. And we've done this on the postcard for brands like Cozy Earth, for example.
Yeah.
On the card, it shows up. It's got like a Range Rover on the front. It's like, hey, $100,000 giveaway. Just purchase on site, and you're entered to win. So it doesn't require any discounting, and you're getting full margin purchase. And then and it's a pretty powerful message as well. I think it really amplifies the brand and really shows like we are serious. Like we are a serious brand, and Shared Sweeps makes it so easy. So I think that's something to think about. And again, we talk a lot about that internally. What is your discounting strategy? How are you leveraging like ladder discounting? Should you be moving towards like non-discount on products, but maybe offering, threshold free shipping? So I think that's something that I'm liking seeing what's going on there as far as testing. And it's always relevant. And I think especially as we head into like this peak BFCM season, I would encourage brands to look at alternatives and tools, maybe like shared sweeps, for example, to really tap into that. And on that same vein, I think, loyalty is something that a lot of brands should be thinking about, especially as we're heading into Q4. And we've got some great partners on the loyalty side. We've actually got a new feature coming out where you're going to be able to display like loyalty points and tiers on the card. So working with...
I like that. That's brilliant. Ooh, I love it.
Totally. So our partners like, Smile or folks like that, like what we're able to do is trigger these campaigns and be like, hey, look, you've just reached gold status. You have 500, loyalty points. Use them this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Again, avoiding the discounting, and really, building and tapping into that like trust that you establish with a loyalty program. So those are a few things that I'm thinking about. And I just think they're so relevant given the time of year right now.
Yeah. Well, the loyalty, I think number one reason some of these loyalty programs don't work is the messaging around what you have is ineffective. It goes someplace you don't see it. It's not catchy enough. And, I look to brands like, I looked at like Chipotle, for example. I think they do a fantastic job of telling you exactly how many points you have and when your next burrito is going to be available to you. Those are examples. If it shows up in your mailbox, holy moly, that's I think you're gonna go spend that money. You're gonna go spend those points.
Totally.
Yeah. So, by the way, just on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and this will air before then. What you guys must be pumping out? The two printing centers smoke must be coming out of those things. Yeah.
We're just trucking in Red Bulls right now.
I can't imagine what's happening. Like a lot of WD-40 to spray down the printing machines. Yeah.
Now's the time. So, okay. So obviously this is going to air in advance of BFCM, but effectively our timeline, like September, October, we're going hard because, and direct mail, obviously it is pretty instantaneous. Like obviously we talked about our triggers 24 hours. It's going to land within a couple days. But also when we think about like people checking their mailboxes and just the general conversion window. So we see kind of like peak conversion on direct mail happening around like day 17. So like about 2 weeks in or so. So we want to make sure that cards are landing in time for that. And especially if we're doing like VIP type campaigns, we want to ensure that we're like maybe even hitting them with an early access offer or something of that nature. Yeah. So for brands that are thinking about BFCM, now's the time to get your, campaigns ready. We're going to launch in late October. We're going to have them land, about a week, 2 weeks in advance of Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, so we can really capitalize and get peak performance. But it's a busy time. The machines are working hard, and we just upgraded you to a new facility. I don't know if you've seen it, but massive airplane hangar, South Carolina. It's insane. So
I mean, you guys, you guys have grown this thing in a massive way. I love it. It makes total sense. Let me ask you this one last thing, and you guys must speak internally. Talk to the founders. You guys have meetings all the time. Where do you see direct mail heading in the next 3 to 5 years? Thinking about AI a little bit too. Does it become as standard as email and SMS, or do you still see it? As this add-on maybe, how do you guys envision? I mean, I'm sure you would like the former, but what's the reality there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is we're already starting to see that. Like, this is becoming it's a must have channel for brands, smart operators. Your best D2C Shopify brands right now, they've had direct mail running for the past 2 years on autopilot, and I think that as we continue to just like educate, especially like, for example, like the benchmark report that just came out where brands can see this and they can see, look, it's driving real incremental ROAS. We're just going to see that as like a necessity always on channel for all D2C brands. So I think that as far as like the future is concerned, this is definitely core email, SMS, paid ads, direct mail, no question about that. And it's really about how do we leverage this more and more market. We talked earlier about how like, not all brands yet are using it for kind of like the acquisition spend. And I think that as we continue to really improve and nail down that, those targeting capabilities off of our data sets and really just give brands a true alternative to Meta, that's where we're going to see massive investments from the best brands in our ecosystem as they continue to scale and grow and just really, continue to win in this space.
Beautiful. Yeah, and think about it too. I mean, the rules are kind of changing on some of the lifecycle channels. You see emails becoming, more difficult, easier to unsubscribe, to get in front of contacts. I mean, Texas, luckily they changed their ruling, but for a second there, even, basically removed any ability to send text messages to customers in the state. So, I mean, direct mail, again, as we talked about in the beginning, it's been here for over 100 years. We're kind of getting it going again sort of now, but I think it's just going to continue to be a consistent channel for brands to turn to when other channels might become more difficult to get in front of their audience. So
yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, it's just, again, it's ironic, right? This thing that has to get printed is going to become the easier thing to the alternative of SMS, because it gets blocked in some places. It's not as effective. And email, it's still effective, but I would tell you, I mean, I'm looking at my inbox, corner of my eye here, and I can't keep up with the promotional or I try to silo the promotional stuff. This is just simply, reading material like I can't get through, in addition to the business stuff that I have to deal with. So you guys are in a great position. I don't need to tell you that. You're working for a great brand. You guys, I love it. I love everything about it. I think it's such a smart move. And, brands should consider it. Some of them may not be ready for it yet. And that's worth the wait to get to that point when you are ready to do it. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on and making the time. These innovative ideas are so important for e-commerce entrepreneurs to know about. Again, even if it's not something they're going to take on right away, they know that it's something that's there for them as they start to grow and scale their business. And they don't think of this as that thing that, oh yeah, that's what my parents are interested in. The fact that millennials are, and female millennials, I mean, that's a huge testament. Why don't you guys just take a few minutes? Let's tell everybody where you can, we'll put everything in the show notes, where do we find out? Where do, we'll put the links to, they can get, put their email address in and get that 30-page report, and throw it in the ChatGPT and get it summarized, or call you, one or the other. Tell us everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, thank you so much for having us on. And I was just thinking through, like, I think one last powerful, kind of tidbit to leave everybody with today is, like, again, relevant time of year. It takes an act of Congress to change the cost of direct mail. So again, when we talk about like the longevity of this channel, how stable it is, how impactful it can be, I think that's a good thing to.
So hey, Ben, are you saying because of the inefficiencies of ability to pass laws, this law will never be changed? Is that what you're trying to say?
As a Canadian, I'm not making any. I'm not looking at.
You're gonna stand? Well, I see. All right, we're taking a 1 foot over onto the Canadian side. We make a statement. All right, but I can see that. It hasn't changed yet, right? It has not changed yet.
It moves slowly for sure. But no, we're really excited to connect with everybody. Please connect with myself and Drew. You can find us on LinkedIn under our names. I'm Ben at postpilot.com. Drew's Drew Hart at postpilot.com. You can go directly on our site, create an account. You can get set up for free. As Drew mentioned earlier, get access to over 100 reports at absolutely no cost just when you connect your Shopify store. Once you're ready to get going, you meet with our team. We're going to lay out a perfect strategy for you. We're going to design your initial campaigns out the door, and you'll start seeing that incremental ROAS on send one. So really no delay there. Again, if you're interested in testing before end of year, obviously we want to get you out in front of the holidays. So time is of the essence. But thank you again, Ramin, for having us on.
Yeah.
We're so happy. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You guys drop a wealth of knowledge, and I just say to the viewers out there, if they do get in touch with you, just be prepared. You guys don't just you understand e-commerce really well, and you've got a lot of data in your minds as well. So pass that along. So thank you guys. We will get this out there before Black Friday and Cyber Monday, so everybody can into next year. This is great, valuable information to next year. So thanks, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for another episode of the E-commerce Revolution. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and keep launching, growing, and winning in e-commerce. And that's the name of the game. Thanks, everybody. See ya.
All right, that brings us to the end of another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Don't forget to check out past episodes, which are all available on demand on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Ready to join the revolution? Become an exclusive part of our growing community of emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs at ecomrevolution.co. Until next time, see ya.